You know, all these poor children that have been so hot and sweaty for so many months are complaining about the cold, right? Let's embrace this beautiful weather. What could we do? We could take a walk today. That would be good. Maybe hit a bucket of balls. It's only $4. You know? Sometimes it might just be as easy to throw quarters down the range for all the good I get out of my ball striking. Okay, we had a worksheet from the other day, and today I believe, I'm going to double check, today is Friday, November the 10th. Many people are celebrating Veterans Day today. And yeah, isn't that nice? Did we find our worksheet of the other day? Is anyone even looking for it? It's two-sided. Does it say 17 on it or not?
Yes.
Ooh la la, ooh la la. Okay, we're going to be working on worksheet 17. I will post a PDF of it into your email accounts later if you are not here currently or usually. Let's just get warmed up with a little Roman numeral figured base realization. And I think we could choose our own position of the soprano. I know that we're looking at worksheet 17 currently. Do you think you have one or not? It's two-sided. Bailey? What do you think? Does that look familiar? Rhetoric?
Yeah.
Okay, when you lose it later today, I will have it posted in your email account. Do you get my emails?
Yes.
Okay. And I'll also put up the link to our YouTube page. And, you know, if I don't send you an email about the YouTube and I've recorded it, most likely it's up there. Only recently I've had to wait a few days on a couple of them. If you subscribe, I think it will give you a notification when
You have to
things
hit
are
the
up.
bell.
Huh?
Hit the bell. Subscribe, you hit the bell, and then you get notifications.
Do I have to hit the bell?
No, we have to hit the bell.
Ring my bell, ring my bell. Wasn't that fun? Okay. Yes, ring that bell, kids, and you'll get notified. There's all kind of amazing things up there. Okay, I'm thinking that's not, this should be right in our wheelhouse here, don't you think? So this is a little different. Normally, I don't give the Roman numerals. I find them not necessary. We all understand what this symbology means, right? Cadential 6/4 to 5, 7. Now here we're going to have a direct one, not an offset one like we often do. Okay? We're working on worksheet 17. Do you think you have one?
I think so.
Okay, if not, you may be supplied with one. All right, let's do the baseline together so I don't have to think about it. Just tell me the notes. Tell me the notes. Okay, up or down? Up or down?
Down.
What? Tell me the interval going up.
It was a G sharp. Sorry.
Something, and you're right. Down diminished fifth, nothing wrong with the diminished fifth. Very useful, provided that it turns back. Like if you were to resolve that, would be A and C sharp, right? So literally that should go to A. What else might it do? Occasionally it might go to G natural and become a 5/4-2 chord, but it would still be treated essentially the same way. Did anybody understand what I said there? Okay, put your stems up. We're doing keyboard style. Picky, picky. All right. Oh, y'all are doing this. Next note. I did that one. Next note. B, S, and shiny and bright. Next one. Next. Next. I don't think. Oh, my bad. Of course it's G. See, people. What's next? Would that be okay for the rest of the notes? Occasionally you could repeat the A, or you could change octaves in the A. Your ears are aware of both of these. And the nice thing here, if you think of, or think about G to A to D, that's something very familiar to your ear, right? That's your whole lifetime of tonal music, is that sort of progression. If you add to that one more note, like the F, now it's starting to sound more like a minor thing. One more note, E. All that makes a lot of sense. Next note. That certainly makes sense, doesn't it? Now, how about the rest of this? So basically, all of this is an extension of this. So our phrase goes one. So there we have tonic, the opening tonic, predominant, dominant, tonic. That's how most tonal music phrases go in a larger sense. So that's what we've done. All right. Part write it. don't have to do it my way. There's always the highway. So don't just copy mine. I could do other voices too, you bet I could. Other voicings too. Other voicings. Alright, let's see what y'all did before I go over mine. Rocky, what you got?
So far,
What you got?
he's been around up here, yes, I'm not
You oopsed it too, by the way. Okay. You need to add all your accidentals, including the E flat. Sam, see what you got. Yeah, you have parallel fifths. That's unfortunate, isn't it? Sadly, I have parallel fourths. Oh, that's okay. Let's see what you got. You have to treat this as a passing 6/4. Just know that that's a passing 6/4 and stop doing whatever you're doing there. Did that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
A passing 6/4 has a voice exchange with one voice above the bass, one neighbor tone, one static tone. The neighbor tone is the leading tone. Alright, Frederick. Okay, you've left off both the accidentals.
Yeah, I know. I'm just.
Well, don't do that. Put them in. you don't get to say. Okay, I think a couple of things. One, you want to put your accidental in there. Two, if that's going to be a C sharp, the next note has to be a D if it's in the soprano. Okay. Let us examine some things. I started in the position of the third. That is usually what I do. So, never mind. If this note is in the soprano, the C sharp, by law, it has to go to the D. There's no frustrating that. Even though that's not a 5/7 chord, it still has to do that. And that's all. Now this doesn't have to resolve like this. This could resolve another way, obviously. This could go to that, that could be frustrated there, and that could go down to there. Also, it could be two D's there and an F down there. But I decided, since I was thinking in my initial proposition that this was just an extension to here, then I went back from whence I came and repeated this scenario again, but look at the difference in the, well, never mind. F, E, F, E. That really doesn't mean anything. I don't know where I'm going with that. It means something to me, but obviously I'm having trouble relating that to you. These are the kind of things I think about. Other things just sort of amuse me, but this I take seriously. Now, this, we must recognize this as a passing 6/4 scenario, okay? So, when we have 6/4 chords, we always double the bass. It doesn't really represent the chord of 5 so much as it passes between 1 and 1/6. It does, nothing has happened in all of this scenario. If you think about this, in this whole scenario, we've gone 1, 5, 1. Can you see that? All of this just comes all the way here. All of this is just sort of the stuffing to the crust. That's, what an analogy. Or is that a simile? Metaphor?
No, analogy.
I think it might be a simile. It's like a stuffing.
Okay.
If I said it is the stuffing of the crust of part writing, that would be an analogy.
That was a metaphor.
Metaphor.
Analogy and metaphors is synonymous.
Something along those lines, right? It's more about your personal spiritual practice, I think. Okay, so, as I was mentioning earlier in a more aggressively passive way, here is the literal voice exchange between the bass and one upper voice, right? This note becomes that note, this note becomes that note. Yes? And obviously, don't you hate it when people say that? Also, that note is that note, right? What's the other voice do? There is the leading tone, it neighbors the tonic, and the static one, the dominant. So. Finally, a tenor part that can be sung. Okay, now the Neapolitan, flat 2, correct? E flat, G, B flat, in first inversion. What do we double? The bass. So what I like to do is set the bass note and then write the triad. Does that make sense? Now I put it as a 4th instead of a 5th, and that allows me to move in contrary motion without parallel 5ths. I have parallel 4ths. We all expect that. We can't lead our lives in this society without parallel 4ths. Okay? So then, now, in this scenario, this normally would go to there, right? So again, you have the sliding of a 4th instead of a 5th to a diminished 5th. Also quite awkward, you know what I mean? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? I'm talking about inversions, meaning a 4th to an augmented 4th is a different part writing issue than a 5th. What am I doing, by the way? A 5th to a diminished 5th, which does happen, but it's not normally thought of as good part writing. Yes?
So why are those not parallel fifths there?
Because they're parallel 4ths. Oh, let me say it a nicer way somehow? Okay, like, pretend I part-writted this differently, and I ended up with this chord, as many of you did. Okay, did anybody end up on this chord? Okay, well, that's a bad choice. Now look what happens there. The next chord, most logically, would go to there, and there, you see the parallel fifths, right? Now, if this scenario is like this, as I originally had it, the E flat moving to D, and there is no voice down here, then that's parallel fourths. Do you see that, Victoria?
Yes.
You do. Okay, do we all understand that parallel fourths are okay? Yes? Parallel fifths are not okay. Now the other thing, that if you continued in this realm here, you would get to this other awkward perfect fifth to diminished fifth. Do you see that, Victoria?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now if I have my voicing up here, again, that's a fourth to a fourth. Now, let me walk to the back of the room. And just understand why you were so confused about that stuff, because that is really a mess up there, isn't it? Okay, I feel your pain. Yesterday, when all that weather was coming through, every joint and bone ached in my body. Like sometimes certain weather patterns will make the little toe on my right foot hurt. Other days, the knees. But yesterday, the neck, the back, everything.
Did you stretch?
Huh?
Did you stretch?
I stretched a lot, and I did something else that I only do about once every other year. Took some leave. I mean, literally, I'll take, if I took it though, I mean, I went all out, I took 2 of them. I like that stuff the best, it's naproxen sodium, whereas Tylenol and Advil, those make me have really bad dreams. I'd rather hurt. My perfect night is to sleep all night and not have a dream. That's very refreshing. Dreams, nobody wants to hear about your dreams,
No,
right?
don't have dreams, kids.
Okay, so let's, if this is okay, can I proceed to putting it back the way I had it? Did you understand what we talked about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I will say this about any point I make, Victoria, and this is why it's difficult in here. They're all very important. It's very important that you understand this. You really can tell that, right? You really can tell that I care about part writing, yes? That I feel like you all should be able to do it as well as me. I make that pretty clear, right? And question your abilities and your talents and your, what else was on that list? Attractiveness? No, I never questioned that. Okay. I'm sorry I called you lazy losers yesterday. Or was that Wednesday? What did I call you yesterday? I had Travis calling you things in my proxy. Is he nice? Is he pretty nice? Or is he mean?
Mr. Jones? He's nice.
Does anybody come?
Yeah.
Does anyone come on Tuesday and Thursday?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Have you gotten to secondary dominance in your sight singing?
I won't talk about it.
Do, re, mi, fi, so. Yes! I got to dominant! So far. I'm back! Mi, re, ra. Woo! Stop it. Okay, now we've got a little thing here called a 4-3 suspension. Normally the suspended note in 3-4 would be longer than the resolution. Now I think what you really want now, I know that you do, is to hear this thing. Mozart Fantasy in D minor.
I'm playing that. And
You're
You're not playing the C minor, you're playing the D minor. The C minor's harder, but and then it has a little fast part. Da. My son, I used to play it, my son plays it every once in a while. You can blame it on my playing. Neapolitan! We put a fermata on that one, I'm afraid. I thought y'all did a pretty nice job of that. Any other questions on that one? That was interesting. Any other questions about that one? Okay, let me ask you this. That didn't seem hard for me, did it? this is kind of where we should be. What else should we be able to do?
Resolve 5-7.
We had that opportunity there, didn't we? We resolved complete 5/7 chord with a leading tone in the soprano to an incomplete 1 chord. Did everybody resolve correctly?
Yes.
Because that's a big one. Okay, let's do this. We're going to break away from the worksheet for a minute because, everybody good with this? I think an important point was brought up. Okay, added to what was in that example are all the augmented 6 chords, the fully diminished 7th chord. That would be what else besides what we did. So what do we really know how to do this semester? Now let's think about that in a real way. 5/7 and its inversions. Dissonant 6/4 chords, passing, neighbor, cadential, and passing over stationary bass. Secondary function, meaning secondary 5 chords, secondary 5/7 chords, and the inversions, plus secondary fully and half diminished 7th chords. Fully diminished 7th chords more common. What else have we done? We've understood how to resolve a fully diminished 7th chord and a half diminished 7th chord. What else? The Neapolitan and its origins from what chord? Okay, was the origins of the Neapolitan from the major mode or the minor mode?
Minor.
Correct. What chord was altered as a neighbor note that then became its own note? Well, I'm not going to say obviously, but apparently it would be the flat 2, right? So what would the flat 2 be a neighbor to of a common chord in the minor mode? Think of C minor. Okay, what is flat 2?
D flat.
What are those notes? D flat, F, A flat. What other chord might share some of those notes? Like the F and the A flat. Don't say 5. That's not good. So 4 is F, A flat, C. You can see that the C would neighbor the D flat, right? That is the origin of the Neapolitan 6 chord. Okay, yes. What else? The augmented 6 chords. Yes, yes. The first one we always kind of think about is the Italian 6 chord. Okay, what does the Italian 6 chord, where was its, pretend origins from? Major or minor?
Oh,
Minor. Good one. And what chord does it come from? Kind of, sort of. Be more specific. Those are theory words. I think it's the 4/6 chord. Okay. Now let's look at the key that we have here. Pretend we were in D minor. Okay, we'll do something different than C for a second. All right. In D minor, What is the 4 chord? That's a G, B flat, D chord, yes? So 4/6 is B flaticus, right? And this B flat would probably go to that note, which would be 5. Yes? Are you with me? You understand? Okay. So what are the other notes that we have? G and D. Would it be okay if we just proceeded in 3 voices momentarily? Okay? For those of you out there in TV land, this is the origins of the augmented 6 chords. Okay. If this went to this, just these outer voices, what does that most resemble? Your answer would be a Phrygian half cadence, right? 4/6 to 5, or this would be like a Phrygian half cadence motion, 4/6 to 5 in the minor mode. So, what happens here is this note chromatically, instead of neighboring, like if you remember back many minutes ago when we discussed the Neapolitan, right? Oh, that's the wrong key, you dummy. Sorry. We're in a different key now. Flat 2, 6. I'll use the minus sign. Is that right? Now, what it derives from is there's your 4 chord, right? There's your 4 chord. Okay, this is going to be a discussion of the Neapolitan, which we just did a second ago. This is a visual representation of the aforementioned discussion. Now, if this noticus was to neighbor that, that's where it would become flat 2, flat 6, or the Neapolitan 6 chord. Okay? Now, here in the 4/6 chord, if we have this chromatic motion there, from there to there, this is where that would become the Italian 6 chord, wouldn't it? Okay? Now, variations on that would be, okay, let's think of it now in a 4-voice contest. That would be Italian, right? Double the third above the bass. If we did this, that would be the French. And if we did this, that would be the German. Exactly? Everybody understands that. The resolutions are all the same, except the German 6 chord must go through the cadential 6/4 chord to get to 5. So this chord could go directly to 5. You see? This chord could go directly to 5. This chord may not. These 2 notes remain static, and then, sorry, my mistake, that would go to 5. Did you follow all that, KJ? In the back there, Jam, Victoria, other people. It made sense when I was doing it. It doesn't make any sense when I look at it. Okay, so what have we been talking about? The things that we know from this semester. Now, what are we a little weak on is the things that we should already have known this semester, which are our cadences, our resolutions, our general part writing, as in mainly errors. And what else have we learned that's new this year? It's right on the tip of everybody's tongue. Keyboard style. Yay for keyboard style. I would suggest that you play your examples on the keyboard. You'll find them much easier to do than vocal style, I hope. Now, what else have we learned? Somebody could tell me. You know? Is it a secret?
I just said moving.
Well, you know, we haven't done that much this semester. Huh?
Resolving fifths, like root position. Resolving the root process.
Yes. Yes, we did. What else? More recently. And what was that? We learned a new chord.
Oh.
No, we didn't. I taught a new chord.
Common tone, fully diminished seventh
Oh.
chord. Is that yes?
That's correct. That was in a way, that was a visual representation of yes. Common tone, diminished seventh chord. What two tones does the common tone, diminished seventh chord chromatically neighbor in its parent chord? That's a tough question. Think of the chord that you start with, and then you have a common tone, diminished seventh chord after it. Which two notes of the original chord are chromatically neighbored? The third and the fifth. The common tone is what? The tonic. It doesn't become the tonic. Shoot. Didn't mean that. The root of that first chord does not become the root of the common tone diminished seventh chord. I might as well just stop now on that one. I'll explain in the way of a song. I just played three chords. We could count them. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. So, these two notes, okay, kind of country tune-ish. Not that I would know anything about that. That's the common tone diminished seventh chord. If I write a chord, actually we have one on our worksheet. Back page number 6. Write common tone diminished seventh chord to each of the following chords. Let's do the last one in the key of D. Oh, please let me do it in the key of D. So our bass line would be that. And everything else would be this. chromatically neighbor. Y'all be quiet out there. You could go back to the D in this voice, or you could double the A there. You hear it both ways. Okie dokie. Was that what you got? It's going to sound a lot like the one I just played, but a step higher. Okay? Or alternatively, or another way,